months to go.
Well, DiBiase was supposed to leave around October, so it's got to be sometime around then. I'm not sure. Hey, we have our live chat room, WZROnline.com/chat, taking a live phone call, 724-444-7444, call ID number 30273, followed by the pound key. So that was Monday Night Raw from last night. Let's get off that. Everybody saw that anyway. You know what? I hate when we go like a full hour. Everybody's already watched Raw anyway. You know what I mean? Nobody cares. You know
they like to hear what we thought of it and stuff like that. And, you know.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Do we want some spoilers yet, or do we want to hold off until we got more?
What do you got? So ECW?
I believe it's ECW. Yeah, they're all ECW guys, so I would assume so. We got Vladimir Kozlov and
turn the speakers down for you guys that don't want to be spoiled for ECW tonight or SmackDown on Friday night. We're going to give you some quick spoilers, and then we'll finish them up here in before we go off the air at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. All right, so ECW tonight, Matty B.
I believe it's Vladimir Kozlov and Ezekiel Jackson versus some jobbers. I could be wrong. It doesn't list here who their opponents were, but either way, whoever they were, it was a squash match. So Jackson and Kozlov got the easy victory. Afterwards, William Regal, who's part of that group with them, he calls out Christian, and Christian comes out with Tommy Dreamer. They both come out and they pull out kendo sticks and they just beat down the whole group. So that's how that segment goes. And then all we have other than that is Sheamus defeated Goldust. So I don't know if that's a dark match, Superstars match, EC. I don't know.
You know, I saw Bryan Danielson is headed to WWE fairly soon. Going to do the farewell tour with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Ring of Honor. But I saw a video. What's that?
Dragon Gate too, right?
Dragon Gate as well. You're right. I saw a video from this past weekend from Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, where Bryan Danielson was in the ring and basically did a farewell of sorts. And the first thing I was thinking, I was looking at it, is if they were to bring him to ECW, Danielson and Sheamus would make a tag team. I don't, no reason. I mean, they have a similar look.
I was going to say, if you're asking for my opinion, I can't contribute nothing to this because you could put two people in a room. One of them could be Sheamus, and I couldn't tell you which one he is.
Yeah, you'd have no idea. But I just thought, you know, Bryan Danielson and Sheamus over on ECW could make a good tag team. I don't know. Maybe it's just a look. You know what I mean? Kind of similar in look, but I don't know. We'll see where they go with that. Who'd you say Sheamus defeated on ECW tonight?
Goldust.
Goldust. Oh,
yeah, Dusty's other son.
Oh, boy. All right, so that's what we got from the ECW TV taping. SmackDown's going to be coming up here in just a little bit. Not going to be much ECW tonight because they're going to air that WrestleMania 25 rematch between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So
awesome, man.
Hopefully they'll. That's the one where Undertaker took that dive to the outside.
Almost killed himself. Yeah.
Tim Snuka was supposed to be out there as the camera guy and just completely botched that. But I don't know if it was his fault. You know what I mean?
He got fired for it, so.
Well, no, he was there for quite some time after it happened. I mean, it wasn't you're done as soon as it happened. You're out of the company. I mean, he was there for months after that. But I mean, when you rewatch it, unless they do some editing tonight on ECW, I just think Undertaker overshot it. You know?
Yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, and he comes down head first, and I mean, there's not much you can do. If the guy's like 300 and some pounds, what are you going to do? I mean, he's going to come crashing down. You can't stop him. He's in the midair. It's too late.
Right. So we'll have that. I mean, there's not going to be much ECW, like I was saying, due to that match. And then SmackDown, that should start up shortly here as soon as done with ECW. So
we got to get through the news, man. I want to talk about ECW or UFC. We've only got a half an hour left. What are we doing here?
All right, let's do it. WZROnline.com/chat. We're going to do chat shout-outs here in just a little bit. All you guests, go to TalkShoe.com, register, takes 2 seconds. You're good to go on a weekly basis. All right, let's, you want to talk news? Well, I don't want to finish it with ECW or UFC. Why don't we talk UFC now and then do news and rumors and calls for the rest of the show? Sound good?
Yeah. It was an amazing show. Yeah, that does sound good. Shit. Overall, school grade, I'd have to give it an A. I mean, my God, it was an amazing show.
Yeah, I'll go A with you as well. I mean, UFC. I mean, we've never judged UFCs, have we?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll go A. I mean, you had even the prelim fights. You had 2 really, really good knockouts that were on the live show. Well, one was a prelim fight, and the other one nasty, brutal. And then the main event lived up to the hype, went all 3 rounds, which was good. And then the undercard, the Jardine knockout was good as well. So I mean, overall, A.
The Thiago Silva knockout, but overall definitely A. The show opened with Brandon Vera and Krzysztof Soshinski. Vera won a decision there. Nothing really much to talk about. That was probably the only one I would call a boring fight on the show. I didn't think it was that great. Right. The second fight of the night was one of the best fights of the night, but also one of the fastest. And even though it was 21 seconds, it wasn't the fastest. So we'll talk about that in a second. But Nate Marquardt and Damian Maia, this was considered to be somewhat of a number one contender to Anderson Silva fight because basically Dana White stuck his foot in his mouth because he already promised Dan Henderson the title shot after he knocked out Michael Bisping. And then this fight, for the build-up, the media was asking him, well, if one of these guys have an impressive performance, where does that put them with Anderson Silva? And they said, if one of them has a really impressive performance, they might get the next shot instead of Henderson. And then that's exactly what happened. I mean, Marquardt knocked out Maia in 21 seconds in midair. If you saw the Fedor versus Andrei Arlovsky fight, it's pretty much the same knockout. As Maia was coming up, he got a punch, and he came down right on his face, and he was out, and that was it, one punch.
Yeah,
21
he was out cold 21 seconds for that fight. Man, brutal knockout. And then, I mean, that and the 7-second knockout. I know the 7-second knockout was a prelim fight, but unbelievable knockouts between both of those. So
who do you think deserves a title shot against Anderson Silva more, Henderson or Marquardt?
Oh, I'd say Henderson. I mean, Henderson's the bigger name, at least in my opinion. You know
Definitely.
what I'm saying? I mean, I would like to say, as far as Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping, I believe, would be the bigger fight, the bigger draw, you know what I'm saying? But Nate Marquardt, I don't know. I don't know if he's...
Well, they both, I mean, the thing is, they both already fought him, and they both got beat pretty easily, but the only round Anderson Silva has lost in the UFC was the first round to Henderson. So Henderson's got that edge, too. Then you look at the opponents they beat to earn the title shot, if they did, in fact, earn one. Marquardt beat Maia. Maia was a great submission fighter, considered maybe the best in MMA, the best submission guy, but he doesn't have jack shit for boxing or kickboxing or anything, whereas Henderson knocked out Michael Bisping, which is a pretty he's a contender. So that's a more impressive win.
Michael Bisping out cold, dude. I mean, Bisping was out for like 5 minutes after that, you know?
They were both brutal knockouts, yeah. And I mean, Marquardt, I mean, he's a former king of pancrase, but like you said, who's the bigger star? I mean, they're both big names, but Henderson... He's a former UFC tournament champion back in the old days. He's the only guy to ever hold 2 belts in Pride at the same time. So I mean, I would say he beat Anderson Silva in the first round of their fight. So I would say he's more deserving. But what Anderson Silva wants is for those two to fight each other and the winner fight him because he doesn't want to have to beat them both when he already beat them before. Right,
that's true. See, I don't think Marquardt has a chance. I mean, who has more of a chance to beat Anderson Silva? I'd say Henderson.
Yeah, agreed. I agree.
You know, I'm just maybe I don't know enough about Nate Marquardt yet, just to, you know what I mean, just to throw money on him or say that he should, even that he deserves a shot against Anderson Silva just yet. You know what I mean? But it would make sense to have those two fight each other, like you said. That's what Anderson Silva wants, right? So have them fight each other, and then the winner of that faces Silva.
It definitely would make more sense, and they might do that, but I don't think they want to do that. I don't think Henderson doesn't want to do that. I mean, he wants to go right back in, but I mean, I don't know what they do. But another good point is Henderson, his knockout was seen at UFC 100, which is the biggest. I mean, you sent me some stats earlier that were insane. That show is going to be bigger than 6 years worth of TNA pay-per-views combined by itself. That show is going to be bigger. That show is bigger already than every WWE pay-per-view this year by itself. Right. And that's how many people watch Henderson knock out Bisping with an amazing knockout. Whereas UFC 102, the buy rate won't even be half of what UFC 100 did. So not as many people saw Marquardt's impressive knockout.
So UFC 102 doesn't hit a million buys.
No, not a million. I mean, it'll do better than people think. It's not a big show, but Randy Couture he's the big name in UFC after Brock and along with Chuck. I mean, he's one of the guys you associate with UFC. So I would say that show, if we're guessing for the buy rate, I would guess, Jesus Christ, something like 650.
Really, that low, huh?
Low? I mean, that's pretty damn good. 700, maybe 700, 750, something like that, right?
I was going to say 800,000, but I don't know.
That could be that too. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not going to be 500 or nothing like people think. It's 500, 600. It's going to be bigger than that.
I'll tell you what is it? UFC 106, the one with Tito and Brock both on the same card. I mean, that's going to be a killer. I mean, that's going to be Tito's return to UFC. You've got Brock, who's just a mega star in UFC as it is, you know, and the guy's still brand new in UFC, you know what I mean? That's the thing. I mean, no matter what you say about Brock, you know, the promo at UFC 100, this and that. I mean, the guy is a massive draw for UFC, you know what I mean? Tito as well back in the day. So to put them on the same card, what is it, UFC 106?
UFC 106 in November? Yeah.
You think that's a record? You think that's a record by
No, that won't beat UFC 100 because it won't get as much media attention. The main reason UFC 100 got so much media attention was just because it was called UFC 100. It's just like if the Super Bowl, once they hit their 50th, whatever the hell anniversary, you know, it's just a bigger deal because of the number. You know, 100.
I had Sports Center on Sunday morning and Monday as well. And they had highlights of all of them, and it wasn't just Couture and Nogueira. They highlighted the knockouts with, I think even the undercard knockout.
Yeah, they had a prelim. They had Gonzaga featured on there, I heard, and he wasn't even shown on the pay-per-view, even though.
Right, and they had they announced that who is it? Todd Dunphy, I believe his name was. With the 7-second knockout, said that it was the fastest in UFC history. I mean, they aired a bunch of highlights of those fights. I mean, it was a whole segment. They had Kenny Florian from MMA Live, I believe it is, which is ESPN.com's official web show or something like that. But yeah, they had all those guys up there on Sunday morning, and then Monday I saw it as well. So
you know that MMA Live show plugs MMAnews.com all the time. Don't you know that?
Do they really?
Oh yeah, they have a news segment on there, and they just read news, and they credit whatever the website they steal it from. So you know you'll hear a lot of MMAJunkie.com, MMAnews.com. They plug you straight up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. You guys have videos.
Yeah, but I mean, just if you're I grew up on SportsCenter before school every day, you know, just like you.
Yeah.
And if they're sitting in that studio. I mean, it's not on TV, but they're in the SportsCenter studio at the desk. And to see that desk and to hear my website's name said is just fucking cool as shit, you know what I mean? It's really
that was pretty cool. I remember, what was it, last year, I think it was, where MMAscoops.com was up on TMZ.com.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, remember, last year, so that was pretty cool as well. But no doubt. And then I think Yahoo Sports or something picked it up as well, so that was good stuff.
Yeah, it's always cool when somebody big like that picks your stuff up. I mean, it's just cool to see your stuff on, you know, places that are shit. Yahoo, come on, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
The next fight was they aired a prelim, or no, that wasn't a prelim. Chris Lieben, another guy from Portland, because this was the first show I should mention in Portland, Oregon, where Randy Couture is from and Chris Lieben's from. It was Chris Lieben versus Jake Rosholt, or Rosholt. I don't even know how to say his name. Damn, I should have wrote that down. Rosholt. Somebody in the chat help me out. Anyways. That was a good fight. Surprisingly, Rosholt won. I mean, he dominated him really, and he finished the fight with a submission. He had an arm triangle on him in the third round, and Lieben almost tapped. You could see him just about start to tap, and then he changed his mind and didn't tap, and he got choked unconscious. And he was laying there unconscious, and his leg was twitching because it was still active when he got unconscious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was brutal.
His leg was brutal. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Look at the, you know what? It's always interesting to watch when we do the UFC segment rundowns and that sort of stuff. Where everybody in the chat room, like all the pro wrestling fans, I mean, we put out a live stream on the website as well, where people can listen in. That way, they don't have to be in the chat to listen. But it's always interesting to watch people just flock out of the chat, like wrestling fans flock out of the chat when we run down UFC. What is it that we can't get wrestling fans into UFC? You know what I mean? I mean, no matter how much we talk about it, wrestling fans want no part of it. Not all wrestling fans, but a lot of wrestling fans say, screw this, screw the UFC, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm not in the chat. I didn't know a lot of people left, but I mean, it could just be a coincidence. No, I mean, we're not done talking about wrestling. We're just...
Well, we're trying
every other week,
you know what I mean?
Every other week they talk shit about they don't want to hear MMA, and then the second we start talking about it, the entire chat gets into the conversation about MMA. Like, oh, Chuck Liddell, oh, Tito, you know, they go crazy about it. So they act like they don't like it, but then they talk about it the whole time.
One at a time. You got to get them interested one at a time. I think a lot of these people, a lot of them are younger, you know what I mean, where they haven't advanced